Everyone's been thanking Astellas, but not me. No way, no how. I am going to expose them for the mean, nasty, anti-Canadian Trumpites that they are. Not only because they put me after David, who's just such a spectacular speaker. Thank you, David. But also because you'll notice I am the only male presenter without a tie. That's because I, the Canadian, am the only male presenter who got a memo that said business casual, no tie. Everyone else, ties. Except for, thank God for Carl. Right? I saw him this morning, told him my tale of woe, and being the champion of anti-discrimination and builder of coalitions that he is, he immediately stripped off his tie and he said, "You and me, brother, fight the power." So, for those of you who were at the research conference where the title of the talk was No Buck Rogers, you'll get an idea that I'm pretty passionate about the role and need of fundraising within the not-for-profit sector and within people who are passionate about causes. You know, I lost my uncle to prostate cancer at age 53. His son, who's 3 years younger than I am, is fighting it. This is personal. It's meaningful. But to make a difference, I can't just talk about it. We've got to make sure that we have the funds to be able to put the mission forward. And in fact, to understand that fundraising is mission. And too often in charities, and I've been in several, there's always a separation. You know, we're the purists, we're the ones who take care of mission, and oh yeah, we've got these fundraisers over here. But it's one and the same, because every day you've got to tell your story about why it is that someone should reach into their pocket and help you help those affected by the cause that's so important to you. Because this, make no mistake about it, is an enormously competitive field. In the US, there are roughly 1.5 million not-for-profits. 1.5 million. Forget about Awareness Month, Awareness Week, Awareness Day. Just to give everybody their fair share, we're down to Awareness Second, and mine's just over. Right? So how are you going to take yourself out of all of that noise, rise up above it, and make people take you seriously? We're held to a very different standard than the for-profit world. In the for-profit world, if you have a company generating 25% EBITDA, profit margins, you have died and gone to heaven, right? You are a rocket ship on the stock market. But you have a charity that spends 75 cents to raise $1, the CEO goes to jail, right? You're on the front cover of USA Today. Donors are saying mismanagement of funds, lining your pockets, right? Different standard. Now, I think that's hugely unfair, and we need to talk about impact versus just cost to raise. But the reality is we still have to do whatever we can to generate funds on a very low cost to raise front. And I want to share just a couple of things that we at Prostate Cancer Canada have been doing on this front and that others are doing, because it's not unique to us. But there are 3 ways, aside from having a billionaire sugar daddy, to be able to raise money at a relatively low cost. And those are high minimum dollar events. Everyone wants their own ice bucket challenge. And the third is really about taking the leap and partnering and using coalitions, not just on the advocacy side, but on the fundraising side, which are much more complicated discussions, as we've learned. One example of a high minimum event, and these are things that you see throughout North America and Europe for many not-for-profits, but in our case, the one that we have is called the Step Up Challenge. And we're fortunate we work with property managers in 3 of Canada's largest cities, Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto. In each of those cities, We have access to 5 of the tallest office towers. We recruit corporate teams of 5. They raise $5,000 minimum per team. And they climb up 5,000 steps to celebrate dads and protect the 5-hole for you hockey fans out there. And the great thing about this event is because you have a high minimum, you can super serve your donors, you can give them a great experience, and keep the costs under 10%, which is very difficult to do in most walk-runs or galas where, hey, if you exchange 50 cents for $1, you're doing pretty well, but you're going to feel the pain from donors looking at your numbers and saying, ain't good enough. Everyone wants their Ice Bucket Challenge. Before the Ice Bucket Challenge was the Ice Bucket Challenge, there was Movember. An absolutely brilliant initiative, 4 guys over a couple of adult beverages in Melbourne, Australia, saying we're going to pick a month, we're going to have guys grow mustaches and ask for money and raise money for men's health initiatives. And in about a dozen years, Movember has raised almost $750 million globally. This year, they will have raised, even in a declining year, over 70 million US. Which is remarkable when you consider that the Ice Bucket Challenge that got so much press was 1 year, $140 million, and we didn't hear about it again. So the staying power, really, truly incredible. And our twist on that, because we're one of the beneficiaries of Movember, but not the sole beneficiary, in Canada anyway, is we have a new initiative, again, trying to take the same principles, which is make it fun, make it simple, make it leverageable on social media. And so last year we did a pilot project. We hoped for a couple of dozen companies to join in. We ended up with over 200 companies and raised twice what Movember raised in its first year in Canada. And all it is a play on Dress Down Fridays or Jeans Days. Only instead of that, we challenge corporate Canada to wear plaid for dad on the final Friday before Father's Day. Tie it to the day, tie it to the emotion, tie it to the cause, and make it fun, make it unisex, men and women, a lot easier than asking the East German Olympic weightlifting team to grow a mustache in Movember. We have something that can have everyone from coast to coast to coast in Canada. And this year, we're looking to have over 1,000 companies already signed up. The most difficult one, and this took me 3 years of negotiation with the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, because as I like to say, the cancer movement is a little bit like the early days of the Protestant Reformation. Everybody has their own little church, their own interpretation of the Bible, and everyone else is going to hell. Right? I mean, it is brutal. It is brutal. And in Canada, the real stumbling block to doing something together with the Breast Cancer Foundation is that they're roughly 10 times our size. Right? Despite the fact that prostate cancer and breast cancer have roughly the same numbers. In Canada, 1 in 8 Canadian men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 9 Canadian women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. This year in Canada, roughly 4,500 of each sex will die of the respective disease. And the age distribution of the 2 cohorts is virtually identical. And yet, breast cancer is 10 times the size. Because at the end of the day, and every woman in this room knows why, and every man knows but is ashamed to say it, guys are idiots. Right? When it comes to health, we don't want to talk about health. We certainly don't want to go to the doctor. And health below the waist, whoa! If we ain't bragging, we ain't talking about it. And so a lot of men die and suffer unnecessarily. It was very difficult, though, when you've got the smaller charity to partner. One, to just get over the whole notion of it's our brand. If we do something, we lose our brand identity. No, you're in a world with 1.5 million great causes. And unless you work together in the same way that unless you work together on a coalition front to get advocacy messages out, if you don't work together on the fundraising side, we're never going to be able to develop low-cost fundraising and have an impact with donors. And this one was quite simple. We simply asked Canadians in the lead up to Valentine's Day, to give us their best ussie. Not selfie, because there's enough of selfishness in the world. Give us your best together picture of a kiss, a coming together, a symbol of love, and post it on social media, make a small donation, and we had great corporate sponsors who helped us with that, and it was, without a doubt, the single biggest launch we've ever had in our history, and even breast cancer was quite delighted with it because it allowed them to do something creative and get beyond their normal targets as well. Happy to take questions. Thank you.
How were you able to think about sharing revenue and, as the smaller partner, persuade people to partner with you?
Yeah. Well, it was the biggest stumbling block, and I had to call Henry Kissinger and figure out how he did stuff in the Middle East, because it certainly felt that way going between the two boards. Initially, I mean, their board would say, well, look at, we're 10 times your size, so every dollar raised, we get 90 cents, you get 10 cents. And I said, look, it's just a non-starter, right? If you can do another event and you raise the money similarly and raise your awareness, God bless, go for it. But even they've found that they need to innovate, and they didn't have something else in the tickle trunk that they could go to and have it to move forward with greater fundraising. So we earned the 50 cents by being the one who drove the initiative that came with the innovation. And that's what, when you're smaller, what was the car rental ad? When you're number 2, you try harder. Well, when you're number 25, you try harder than the ones above as well. And that's part of it. But it took 3 years.
How do you raise money from Plaid for Dad?
It's very similar from traditional Jeans days, only it's adding social media to it. So in a Jeans day, your employees, put $2, $5, $1 into a jar at the front desk when they come in to pay for the right to dress down on that day. We just have people do that online. Some do it physically at the workplace. So for instance, the Ontario Trucking Association fell in love with the idea, and truckers, when they went to their dispatch desk, would drop $5 into a jar. Now they normally wear plaid anyway, but they wanted to help the cause. The key, the real secret sauce in it is making sure that you have competition within sectors, right? So the major national law firms each wanted to one-up each other, and so they got heavily involved, and different ones came up with different ideas on that day. You had companies do company picnics in plaid. You had people do dunking pools with the boss or the senior partner. Just let people do their own thing, and they're happy to participate if they can have some fun along the way.
Thank
you. First of all, I want to just thank you for this incredible presentation, because actually this is one of the more daunting times to present after lunch.
Yeah.
I don't think you had any of us not attending to everything you said. You're just a great presenter. And I have a question. Did these then continue to be yearly fundraising events for you? Because you had a huge investment in them, and it sounds like they were very successful and wonderful. So.
Well, the step up we've just completed the 3rd year of, and it's growing every year. And quite frankly, if I can raise 90 cents on a dollar, I'll show up every year with that. On the other two, Plaid last year was 200 companies. We're already over 1,000 for year 2, so we think that will be enormous. We had one of our major retailers, the Hudson Bay Company, is kind of our Macy's. They've designed 6 custom Plaid shirts that they're going to be selling in all their stores from Mother's Day to Father's Day, with $12 from every shirt going to Prostate Cancer Canada to represent, yes, we're celebrating on Father's Day 1 day of the year, but 12 months of the year we want to protect men's health, and that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, so the
Thank you,
logo for Kiss to Cancer is brilliant. Did you design that in-house? Second thing is, I want to just sort of echo or endorse what you just said about finding competitive sector activity. And you know, our ice bucket challenge, and we're in the prostate cancer space in the USA, was topoff.org. All of you with iPhones right now, go to topoff.org. But you know, our first play on that was patient participation. But when we got corporate participation, that's when it really started paying off to us. But around the logo, and
Yeah,
I mean, how much
the logo was a pro bono agency that worked with us. That's way beyond my pay grade. Thank you very much.